friends, and welcome to Loving It. Today is Sunday, and it is January 25th that we are recording during snowpocalypse, where everybody's kind of in their houses right now. The South, the North, the whole East Coast, actually all the way back to Texas. That I know of is experiencing ice storms, snowstorms, sleet storms, just lots of general cold. So far here, it hasn't been quite as bad as they've predicted, but they keep telling us the worst of it is still to come, so we'll see. Let's start off by pointing out that yesterday, January 24th, was Dean Winchester's birthday. So happy birthday, Dean Winchester. A birthday that we will always celebrate, regardless of the fact that at the end of the show, spoiler alert, that he is no longer with us, but he will always be with all of us in both our minds and hearts because that's just who we are. I'm going to go ahead and point out at the beginning of this episode that I am recording since we're snowed in. I am recording with PJ here, so if she happens to snore, grunt, whine, bark, or any of the above, please go ahead and forgive me in advance. It worked out pretty well when we recorded last time. We were able to make things work with her here. So I'm going to go ahead and try it again so we can get some of that content out there. Going to start off by recapping Vegas Con. That was last week. Jensen was looking great as always. We were jealous that we were not there. You can find or not both, but all of, you can find the countdown panel that Jensen crashed as we predicted. You can find the Jensen solo gold panel, which is quite a rarity. And then also the Jensen Misha main panel. You can find all of those on YouTube at this point. So if you haven't had a chance to watch them, I would highly recommend all of them. Sad that we weren't there. As always, anytime we miss a con. This upcoming weekend is going to be Norfolk. And once again, sad that we're missing that con. I actually just transferred my hotel reservation over to somebody else. So that was kind of my final admitting that I'm not going to be there. It's tough, but because of work commitments, not going to be something that I can make. Unfortunately, I will point out, and I say unfortunately for me, but very fortunately for all the people going to Norfolk, and I am excited for all of you guys. Jensen's meet and greet went, I believe, for 500. I'm not going to swear to that. Jared's went for base, which is 300. I believe J2 went for base, which is actually not necessarily that uncommon. But for both Jared and Jensen, those are amazing prices. From my understanding, VIP went for around the 600 range, which is amazing and not very common. It's quite a bargain for that price. We will do at some point an episode on VIP at Creation Cons. I did get the opportunity to attend one, and I can't say enough good things about it. I can't say enough amazing things about Misty, but we'll leave that for another podcast. Also, Jensen's Sunday solo ops are still available, so this is a sign that that's going to be a smaller con, a great crowd, hopefully. It's going to be wonderful. I can't wait to see the pictures, the videos. I'm super excited for all of you that are getting the chance to be there. I hope the weather cooperates because they are calling for some bad weather. And I know a lot of people that are traveling from around, so those of you that are traveling, please be safe. Now let's go ahead and head into the episode itself. It's going to be a little bit of a different conversation today. This one is Parasocial, but make it healing. So hopefully you're all already intrigued. So we're going to talk today about something we all kind of live inside, but don't always say out loud. And that's parasocial relationships. That feeling where characters, actors, creators, or fandom spaces don't just entertain you, they hold you. They get you through bad days, lonely nights, hospital visits, heartbreaks, and everything in between. And I want to be really, really clear. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that connection. Loving a show like Supernatural or finding comfort in Jensen or Jared or a character that feels like family, That makes sense. Humans connect through stories. We always have. I mean, keep in mind, I just wished Dean Winchester, a fictional character, a happy birthday from yesterday. So, I understand this. But sometimes that line between comfort and cost gets blurry. And I don't want this episode to shame that. I want it to heal it. So today we're talking about how to let fandom be a refuge without letting it replace your worth, your real needs, or your real safety. How to love deeply without disappearing into it. Because you deserve connection that gives back to you, not something that slowly drains you. And I'm going to say, for me, Supernatural, Sam and Dean weren't just characters on a screen. They were family. When my world felt unsafe, when it felt like I couldn't necessarily trust people, they were the voices that said keep fighting when my own voice was just too tired to say it. I know they're fictional. The comfort, the strength, the way that they helped me survive, all of that was very real. That wasn't fictional or imaginary at all. So today, I don't want to shame those parasocial relationships. I want to talk about how they can be healing and how we can love them in ways that help us grow instead of disappear. This is about letting fandom be a bridge, not a hiding place. So let's talk about love and fiction without losing ourselves. And when I talk about fiction, we're also talking about parasocial relationships, not just with Sam and Dean, with Jensen, with Jared, with Misha, with all of the cast. Those of us that go to cons or have had an opportunity to go to cons, you start to build a relationship, even in the first con, especially if it's somebody like Rob or let's say Rob, Richard, David Hayden Jones, DJ Qualls. They're all very, Brianna, Kim. They're all very giving of their emotion, of their time, of receiving your emotion. And that really goes for everybody in the cast. They're always very open to our love, our attention, our hugs, the stories that we tell. They take them, they absorb them, they give back to so many of us. And again, I'm not shaming that. We're going to own that and talk about that a little bit. We want to talk about the fact that, characters, actors, fandom spaces, they don't just entertain you. So I guess, one of the things that I want to point out, for example, the Supernatural cast, I have been to both Dragon Con and Atlanta Comic Con. I went to both of those because Jared was going to be there. So I had some opportunity to meet some other people or some other celebrities while I was there. And while I had some great interactions, would have the opportunity to meet some great people, it was very different from interacting with our Supernatural cast, which up to then had been my only real interactions. I want to acknowledge the fact, and I've talked about this with people before, these are definitely transactional relationships we build. And when I say transactional, this is their job. We're paying them money to take pictures, to sign autographs, to do meet and greets. That's what they get paid for. That being said, I've had the experience with other ones that it's very much, you walk in, like for example, the photo op. You walk in, they take the picture, you're done. They may not even speak to you, or if they do, it's a very small interaction. And that's what you're paying for. You're paying for a picture with a person. So that's really all your expectations should be. However, our Supernatural cast as a whole has spoiled us, to be honest, because these transactional relationships are very fulfilling for most of us. They acknowledge who they are, or acknowledge who we are. They see us. They validate us in a lot of ways. And so it's not just that they're getting paid to do this. They choose, all of them choose to go above and beyond just giving you a picture, just giving you the autograph, just giving you the meet and greet experience. There's not a single one that I think that I could pick out. And if you guys feel like there is anybody, please feel free to comment either on our Facebook page or send me a message or send me an email. But I can't think of a single member at this point that is just showing up. They are there and they're giving their all. The panels, they're having a good time. Yes, we're paying them. But they're giving us what we paid for and more. And that's the way that I always look at it. Yes, it's transactional, but they're not just giving us the photo. They're not just giving us the auto. They're not just giving us the meet and greet. They're not just giving us like boring panels. I'm going to compare it. And this is an odd comparison, and probably not everybody is going to get it. But if you've ever watched, gosh, this is a really strange comparison. If you've ever watched Vanderpump Rules, and if you haven't, you really should, because it is amazing TV. I wish I could watch that show again for the first time. But if you've ever watched Vanderpump Rules, and you're probably going to judge me for this, and that's okay, because I embrace it. But, oh God, how did I just draw a blank on his name? Vanderpump Rules. Tom, but the one that nobody likes except for me, Sandoval. Gosh, I can't believe I forgot that. So Tom Sandoval does cameo videos now. He charges either $200 or $250 for them, which sounds like an astronomical price for a cameo from Tom Sandoval from Vanderpump Rules. But that being said, I have seen some of that man's cameos, and that is money well spent. Like, he does not just talk to you, he does a full-on show. Like, it's several minutes long. He plays his trumpet. Like, he gives it all. So, again, somebody that isn't just giving you, like, the baseline. It's kind of even, anytime you go somewhere and you're at a restaurant, you get a waitress. Either you're getting the basic service where they're bringing you the food, or you're getting really great service that you remember. Our Supernatural our Supernatural cast. Sorry, I think I was thinking about the staff at the restaurant, but our Supernatural cast goes above and beyond at that convention to give us more than what we could possibly ask for. So that feeling, let me make sure that I'm about to go over the first part again. But so we just want to talk about the fact that, parasocial is just this emotional connection to somebody that you don't personally know, but your brain doesn't know the difference between a real voice comforting you and a fictional one comforting you, or somebody at the con comforting you that is being paid. So comfort's comfort. However, whatever makes you feel better. If getting that hug from Jared Padalecki that you paid for makes you feel better, your body doesn't know that you paid for that hug. Your body just knows you're getting comfort. So comfort is comfort. It doesn't matter how you get it, how your body feels it. Just let it happen. Also, parasocial relationships are not anything new. People, like, these have gone on for years with radio hosts, movie stars, authors. Like, it's just something that happened. Twitter, which I'll always call it Twitter. Twitter is well known for giving parasocial relationships. I can remember the first time Donnie Wahlberg from New Kids on the Block commented on one of my Twitter posts. I almost died. The author Harlan Coben, he commented on something one time. I was so excited. DJ Qualls, before I had ever met him, but I was still following him on Twitter. But there was one time he had tweeted something, I retweeted it, and I commented on his. He both liked and maybe commented on my comment, and then also liked my retweet. And I was so super excited. So again, this is perfectly normal. Doesn't mean you're obsessed, broken, or delusional. Trust me, I've had people call me obsessed for a long time. That's just something like they kind of laugh it off. But I know that people on a level think that I'm obsessed, and that's okay. Again, as long as I'm happy and not hurting anybody, I don't really care what anybody else thinks. Your brain responds to connection, storytelling, familiarity. Um, Also, I mean, cons, they're a very safe space. The people that we meet at cons, those become lifelong friends and family. Well, the whole thought is that, they call it supernatural family. And I know some people don't necessarily feel that connection. There are times when there are people, for me, it's enough like family that there are times when people do something and I'm just like, yeah, I don't really, want to interact with them or connect with them. I mean, I have people in my family like that. That's okay. I mean, like there are people that are like fifth cousins. Like everybody in the family doesn't have to feel like my sister. But it doesn't mean that honestly, that if something were to happen to them or somebody else were to attack them or something like that, doesn't mean that I wouldn't be there for them necessarily. It just means that it's somebody that I don't necessarily want to interact with much, and that's okay. Um, and sometimes fandom just doesn't just entertain us; it teaches us how to survive. And I think for a lot of us, supernatural and the fandom world itself and the cons has helped us survive and has taught us what we need to do and how we need to do it to survive. And in some ways, cons have helped, like, have just themselves have helped us to survive. But I want to talk about healing through parasocial relationships. We want to talk about, for example, we gain strength, helps us feel less alone. Both the cons and interacting with Jensen, Jared, DJ, Misha, all of them. You build a bond, at least in your mind, with them. It helps you feel less alone, gives you words for feelings you couldn't name, encourages creativity, community, joy. All of that comes from cons. All of that comes from interacting with the celebrities. All of that is so good for us. Sometimes you have to think about, though, are you replacing your real world connection instead of supporting it? Do you avoid your life entirely by living only in fandom? And does your worth become tied to the fact that, oh, Jensen knows my name, or oh, you know, Jared acknowledged me. Jared called me this, or Jared said this to me, or Jensen said to this. If you start to think that that makes you more important, if you start to think that that gives you, I just don't want people to feel like their worth depends on their access or their proximity to anyone on the cast. I use the example of Jensen and Jared because, again, those are my two. But any of them, Misha, Dave, like in anybody at the Supernatural, in the Supernatural cast. Not everything that feels good is bad. Like, I don't want anybody to get that ending from this. I don't want anybody to ever think that I am saying, A, shouldn't go to cons. B, you shouldn't have 50 Jensen ops. C, you shouldn't, have 4 Jared autos. That you shouldn't have meet and greets with both of them. Because I'm going to tell you that my life is not like that. Like, I'm going to go to as many cons as I can. I'm going to do my best to have the meet and greets. I'm going to have tons of photo ops. So let's be clear. That's not what I'm saying. And that's not what I'm not trying to shame it at all. But just keep in mind, that is a weekend. Or, if like even if you go to all the cons, that's, and I don't know how many there are this year, but I'm going to say that's 12 weekends, 13 weekends. But just make sure that doesn't become your entire existence or your entire world. Let's see. So, just some of the things, like talking about that same thing, but you want fandom to inspire you, not define you. Let it support your identity, not replace it. Let it be something that gives you strength to build your life. So, for example, like you can be, the girl that, like, for example, in my real life, I'm the girl that goes to supernatural cons. Like I've been identified that way in so many groups. I'm okay with that. But that doesn't mean that in my real world life, I don't have other things that define me. And so it's very important that, in a perfect world, I would go to all 13, 14 of those cons. That being said, I would still have to have my outside life, because even 13 or 14 cons, if I had the means and the money and the time off to do all of those, I would still have the outside life that I still had to, live with and deal with. And even though going to these cons helps me deal with my outside life, it is, in a lot of ways, it is a part of my identity. But I'm okay with that because I'm okay with who I am. And I don't feel like cons identify me. I just feel like that's a part of who I am. And I know that might be kind of hard to understand. I don't want anybody to think that I don't want anybody to think I'm being hypocritical. One of the reasons that I decided to do this podcast, I had somebody actually send me an email, and they kind of suggested something very similar to this. They sent it a couple of weeks ago, and I thank you for that. They didn't want to be identified, but I do thank you for that. And I thought about it for a while because I wasn't 100% sure if it would sound hypocritical coming from me, and that's not what I wanted to do. Because I am that person. Sorry, guys, if you can hear PJ snoring in the background, because she is snoring right now. But I just don't want to seem hypocritical because I am the most supernatural con person you will ever see. I will forever and always be your enabler friend. I will hype you up for it. I will hype you up for the con. I'll hype you up for your photo ops. I'll hype you up before your meet and greet. I will hype you up for everything. And then when you get your pictures and show me those, I will be your hype girl. I will always tell you how amazing they are, how amazing you look, how much fun you must have had. I am a hype girl. I am a girl's girl. And that being said, if you're a guy, when it comes to supernatural cons, I am a guy's girl too. Like, I am not that person to go to if you want to make responsible choices where cons are concerned. So that being said, I don't want to be hypocritical. I just want to make sure that there are people that understand the difference between, as I've used the word previously, and we'll use it a lot, between transactional relationships, which are parasocial relationships, but like transactional, I guess I shouldn't say relationships, transactional moments versus genuine moments. Maybe that's a better explanation. They are there because they're getting paid. They are also there because they enjoy it. Like, nobody's going to convince me otherwise. They would, if they didn't enjoy it, they wouldn't still be there. I mean, come on. And I just think that we need to be very clear about the fact that they are transactional relationships, because for some of us, the things that they say and do, we're going to remember them forever. We're going to hold those moments in our heart. And you're not going to convince us otherwise. For them, and I mean, I don't just mean like the moments, the individual moments with you. I've seen where they actually, I don't know how many of you have seen the, oh gracious, I don't remember which con it is, but where Jensen told a story about Kirby from South Carolina. And then somebody asked him about it, like, I don't know how much longer. But that's something that's almost like fandom legend. But somebody asked Jared about it. I don't remember. I don't remember exactly like where they were or why they asked him about it, and they didn't know what he was talking about. Like they didn't. He didn't remember it. The man's memory is not great. That's just. So it's not just like interactions. Like it's things that he's saying on stage. I've also seen where they'll tell a story and it's one way one time and it's one way another time. So again, I'm just thinking that the memory is not the greatest. So don't take it as a personal like affront if something happens and then you refer back to it later about it to them and they don't remember it. Again, that's not because they're doing anything hurtful or that it doesn't mean something to them in some way in that moment. It just means it's a core memory for us. For them, it's just another day at work. So remember that so you don't set yourself up for hurt or failure if something happens and you expect an amazing interaction the next time based off of an interaction. Just always, that's something that hurts my heart when somebody has a great interaction and then they expect the same thing. I always say don't compare your stories or your con to anybody else's con. Don't compare individual experiences to each other. So if you have a great experience one con, don't set yourself up for failure by expecting a similar similar interaction or for the previous interaction for him to build on that. Because again, that's setting you up for failure. And I hate to see that happen from anybody. So just, kind of keep in mind, like I say, don't compare your con. Don't compare your interactions to each other. And again, I get it. Some of you I know haven't been to cons or may only ever get to one con. So you have to keep in mind that if you do make it to a con and you've heard other people's stories, don't expect the same thing they've had. If you've never been to a con and you're still, building these parasocial relationships with either Jensen and Jared or Sam and Dean, remember, it's okay. But again, you have to make sure that you're setting yourself up to not feel disappointed if something happens on the show and not to feel disappointed if one of them does something in their real life that you don't agree with or that you don't like that much. If one of them talks about something political. And again, this is not just Jensen and Jared. This is everybody on the cast. But they're people too. So don't be upset or judge them based off of anything they tweet, post on Facebook, happens in their real life. If something happens in their real life that you're upset about, again, remember, they're people too. They don't have magical things over them that keep them from making mistakes, that keep them from saying, what they want to say. Always remember they have the right to free speech. If you don't necessarily like it, absolutely, you have the right to not want to follow them anymore or not do anything. But remember, they are real people. And just as you have the right to either not listen to them or not follow them anymore, they have the right to do all those things. So just try not to put them too much on a pedestal. Remember, they're all real people. they're all going to do things that, just like your best friend, that you're not always going to agree with. But if it's your best friend, you're like, okay, you overlook it. And that's not to say that they're your best friends, but that's just to compare somebody else in your life to them. And I guess that was probably a bad example when I'm talking about parasocial relationships, to compare them to your best friend. But again, just trying to point out that they're real people too. Let's look at some other things. We talked about letting it connect you. Like you're going to connect to the people at the cons, which is amazing, is great. Let that happen with the fandom. Don't be closed off to the idea of being close with other people in the fandom. Let's see. It's okay if a show saved you. It's okay if characters feel like family, but you deserve a life that's bigger than a screen. You deserve joy that exists outside a convention hall. Let fandom be the lantern, not the place you stay forever, but the light that helps you walk forward. You're allowed to love deeply. Just don't forget to love your own life too. And I hope that this doesn't upset anybody, me talking about this and kind of shining a light on this. I know generally I devote the entire episode to just cons itself, but I do feel like this is con related, and maybe just something that, might resonate with some people, might help some people. I know most of my listeners are people that haven't been to cons before and very likely won't go to multiple cons. And that being said, I feel like to some degree, those are the ones that have already, because for me, before I ever went to my first con, I was following Jensen and Jared. I was watching videos from both Krista and Gail on YouTube religiously for quite a while before I ever made it to a con. So I already had kind of built up in my head how things were going to be, what things, everything. Keeping in mind, as I've said before, that my first con ended up being during Plexi era, which was fine. I actually think, I tell everybody a lot of times, I actually think I prefer that I started during Plexi era, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, when you look back. But in some ways, I do think that was better for me. But I already had in my mind, like, what cons are going to be like. I was completely wrong. They were so much better than I imagined. Fortunately, I didn't have any bad episodes. I did not interact with somebody that was having some issues at the time. And so maybe that's why I didn't have any bad experiences. I don't know. I had just heard. So I'm just going to leave that part alone. But yeah, I think for me personally, going into my first con, that I did very much have Jensen and Jared on a pedestal. I did very much have a parasocial relationship with them. But I do feel mostly, I've had some moments that maybe weren't healthy for me, but I do feel like mostly mine is a healthy parasocial relationship. It helps me. It's very therapeutic for me. I like my interactions, is like a complete understatement. I adore my interactions with both Jensen and Jared and the rest of the cast when I have them. I don't even have words to explain how con life itself has helped me. The people I've made friends with, that I've interacted with, like, I just don't have any words for that and how much that has helped me. That has helped me survive in a lot of ways, to be honest. So I don't think there are any other words that I can really think of it. Like, I can say that I adore my moments with Jensen and Jared. That's an understatement too. But I definitely cannot come up with like any words for how the actual con life and the fandom has made me feel. So I just, I think, and I'm sure that anybody that is, again, the whole point of this podcast is not to shame anyone. It's just to shed a little light on it, because I'm sure most of us, at some point, have become obsessed or have been called obsessed. I've mentioned it in one of my podcasts before that it's something that you can't explain to anybody else. Like, unless they've been to a con, they don't understand it, and you can't explain it to them. So unless they've actually been and watched the show, enjoyed the show, they're just not going to get it. And it's something that you can't put words to it. So I just hope, if you take anything from this today, I hope it's that you're allowed to love stories. You're allowed to feel deeply. You're allowed to find comfort in characters and creators and fandom space. Just don't forget, you are real too. Your body, your heart, your needs, your life, they matter just as much as the things that helped you survive them. Let fandom be a light. Not the only light, but the one that walks beside you. So thanks for sitting with me today. Take care of yourselves. I hope you all make it through snowpocalypse, okay? I hope nobody heard PJ sleep barking a little bit earlier. And thanks for putting up with me and tuning in and sending me emails and commenting on the Facebook page, sending me Facebook messages, sharing about the podcast. The podcast has been so well received. I'm so grateful. It's been hard for me to do a lot of things sometimes, but the podcast is one of those things that's never really hard for me to do. It's just hard for me to, I don't know. We won't go into all that because I talked about that last podcast, and I don't want to bring anything down. I just want to let you guys all know that this podcast means so much to me, but also every single person that takes the time to listen to just little old me sitting in here with some stuff I bought off of Amazon to make a podcast. Every time I download like my listeners, I get so excited. Just the fact that somebody would spend this time with me. Sorry that this one ended up being so long. I always plan on like 30 minutes and then I get done and I'm like, oops. There's also a little oops in the middle, because my equipment kind of did a oopsie. So there's a little oopsie in the middle. Hopefully the editing will cover it enough that you'll never even notice. But just in case you do, oops. Because editing isn't my strength with these podcasts. I love you all. Tell everybody you know about Anxious Broken Loving It. Share the podcast. Share the page. Please just share everything. Your feedback and your help means so much to me. I really, really hope that this week's podcast wasn't a bummer. Again, it's something that somebody suggested, thought about it for a while, and decided to kind of do a little twist on it. I hope nobody felt like, I don't know, again, I don't want to be the hypocritical person, but I hope you all enjoyed it. I love every single one of you. Thanks so much for listening. Again, this is Robin, Anxious Broken Loving It. I have an Anxious Broke Loving It Facebook page. I also run the J2 is Trash Facebook group. If you aren't already in it, please join. We have lots of fun in there. It's a safe place for everybody. Trust me, I will boot somebody out in a heartbeat, delete the comments. Everybody has to be approved before they're in the group, and there are quite a few people that don't make the cut. So I'd love to have you all join. Follow me personally on Facebook if you like. I think a lot of you already do, but if not, it's Robin Lynn Phillips. Feel free to follow me on Facebook. I'd love to get more feedback on the podcast. So anything you want to send me or comment about, please do. I love it. And again, just love you all. So hopefully everybody makes it through the snow apocalypse. We'll talk to you next time. And this is actually going to be our 10th podcast. So yay us. And I don't know why I always say we. I guess because PJ's with me. PJ's my producer. So this is going to be our 10th podcast once I upload it. So I hope everybody keeps listening. Love you all, and we'll talk to you next time.